Transfer news, Cass.
Yep.
Chelsea are expected to sign the Fulham defender Tosin on a free transfer. The Blues believe they're close to a long-term deal for the 26-year-old who is subject to a medical next week. He's on holiday right now, but that is subjected for next week. Newcastle, Manchester United reportedly were also interested in the player, but it looks as though he's happy and wants to remain in London. So Chelsea is the side that he wants to move to. He's going to be battling with the likes of Levi Colwill, Benoit Badiashile, Axel Disasi and Wesley Fofana for game time with the Blues. Obviously, they've lost the experience of Thiago Silva, who has left this year. Do you think they need Tosin as well?
Well, they need a centre-half, yeah.
Well, I've just mentioned a few there.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure. Badiashile, I'm not sure he's developed enough to be a Chelsea regular centre-half. Obviously, they've lost Thiago Silva. Disasi, I think a lot of mistakes. I think the heart of their defence last year was a problem.
Yeah.
I thought there was a big improvement in many other areas on the pitch, but the two centre-halves for me is one of the issues Chelsea have to confront. And if Tosin, he's a free transfer, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, it's a signing that Newcastle tried to get over the line.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't happened. Chelsea have jumped in. Great aerially. Really good. You'd expect it. He's 6'4", 6'5", very dominant in that area. Still not quite convinced when he's on the ball. With making mistakes. I see him do that a few times at Fulham over the season. Look, Chelsea are just looking at it as a free transfer, and they do need bodies in that because Colwell was injured as well during the season. Fofana's a whole year, like you mentioned. So, yeah, they do need cover or someone to step in and play.
I mean, if he comes in, are you expecting him to be the number one choice and who would he be alongside? Is it Colwill or Fofana you'd be expecting?
Well, Fofana's been out all year,
exactly,
basically all year, so you don't quite know. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. Colwell, again, out quite a bit. There's no certain starter. I feel at Chelsea at centre-half position at the moment. I think it's a place in the team. The two spots are up for grabs. And I think Chelsea have just added another body in there they think could be an asset for them. But it's certainly the area of the field. The loss of Thiago Silva is a big one because over the 4 or 5 year period, he was sensational for Chelsea. And at 39 years old, he's moved on. Fair play, but he's still one hell of a replacement to make.
Yeah, with regards to Fofana, didn't play at all, of course, last season, like you mentioned, with injury. Did play a few times the previous season in his debut season for Chelsea, but really Chelsea have barely seen the
he had a
best
bad
of him
injury
yet,
before
sadly.
he come to Chelsea when they paid 80-odd million for him.
We're still waiting for official news that Enzo Maresca is Maurizio Pochettino's replacement at Chelsea. It does seem as though it's just a matter of time that will be announced. It seems a hard one, really, because we've talked about it already with how the season went, and obviously it was a bad start for Pochettino, but it ended so well for Chelsea. So how does Maresca knock that on? How does he improve Chelsea going forward?
Before we talked about Tosin, I would have gone straight after the defensive side of Chelsea. They've got to be harder to beat, a more solid back line. You're watching Real Madrid last night and you're thinking, wow, Rudiger, doesn't have to have the greatest game, will make tackles, Carvajal, likewise. It's just Mendy. They just feel like they're a back four that really defend well and stop teams. I think Chelsea have to do that. The development of... I think his midfield is an issue. What's he going to do with Enzo? Because Chelsea were way better. Caicedo was back to his best for me at the end of the season. Gallagher, the importance of keeping him. Whether that happens, we still don't know. But I do think, if you're a manager looking in... Because one thing they all do now, they all watch every football match and they all study every player. But the football manager's knowledge of today is incredible. You talk to managers about, what they know about other teams, not just their own team. So I think there's loads of challenges, but there's the basis of a really good side there.
Oh, it's a talented group of players, really. And it's interesting you mention Enzo Fernandez because that's something that your former mate... I'm saying former mate because of how he outed you. Andy Townsend joined Alan McCoist on Breakfast earlier this week, and he was talking about how Maresca has to get the most out of Enzo Fernandez.
Got to sort out the little bit of a conundrum with Enzo.
Yeah.
Right now, obviously he was injured at the back end of the season. He's clearly a gifted and talented footballer. That's not up for debate. But trying to get him integrated, it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
We never saw the best of him, did we?
Agreed.
Didn't really get exactly where his best position was, and we just couldn't seem to see the very best of Enzo. So I think that's something that's got to be sorted. Trying to fit these personnel into the right positions, because if it's Enzo, Conor Gallagher, and Caicedo, that's a little bit samey.
Yeah.
Whereas when it was Gallagher, Caicedo, and Cole Palmer, then you had a really lovely feel about the way that was moving.
Yeah, he's right. He's right on that, because, and also you could say that Fernandes doesn't really, you could watch him for Argentina and you could watch him play for Chelsea, and you're not really sure if he's sort of a holding midfielder at times or an attacking midfielder or just centrally matching up with Caicedo. It's quite weird how he's sort of floated in that midfield position with no absolute certainty of what he is. But he's a really good footballer. You don't play for Argentina and play for big clubs like he has with Atletico, and he's a talented lad. It's getting the best out of him.
Getting the best out of him, as you said, sort the defence out. Do they need anything up front?
Yes, but I really hope that Nicholas Jackson really steps on again.
Yeah.
If you get 20% more out of Nicholas Jackson, you are getting 20 goals plus in the Premier League. If you can get 20% out of him, because he's got so much. Well, now, if you go across the whole of last season and say, who had the most chances? What player do you think had the most chances that didn't convert? He'd be definitely in the top 3. So his conversion rate, if he gets more clinical, Nicholas Jackson's going to be a big asset for Chelsea, because he's really quick.
Yeah.
He showed his pace numerous times last year. So an improvement in him. I'm bringing in someone to challenge him.
Weekend Sports Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Sunday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.